All right, so hey, what y'all do this weekend? Y'all go see Deadpool? What you think of it?
I saw Deadpool. It was pretty decent. Not better than the first one for me.
Pretty much felt the same way. I mean, I was still entertained, and I did like, obviously, the addition of Cable and Domino and whatnot. And I mean, it did some things that was unexpected that I liked about it, but for the most part, I don't think it was as strong as the original.
What?
Obviously, you felt differently.
Pandemonium. This is beyond me.
What? What you talking about? What you mean by that?
You ever heard Ha Ha Davis saying that? He like, this is beyond me. This is pandemonium. This comedian from Detroit, I follow on Instagram. He always do these scenarios, and he always say, "This is beyond me."
Wow.
It like be the weirdest scenarios. It's funny as hell.
Okay.
So obviously you loved it.
Oh yeah, it was way funnier than the first one. Not saying the first one wasn't bad. I love both of them. Like I was laughing so hard that everybody else was laughing harder with me. I'm loud when I laugh, and people were just dying. Because laughing from me. Yeah, exactly.
So they more laughing at you than they laughing at the movie. Almost.
Possibly. Who knows? I mean, people had it was moments where people were laughing so hard you really couldn't hear the movie because it was just so much going on.
Interrupting people. Don't let them laugh on their own. No, you laugh for them and then have them join in with you. Okay, I see it.
Right.
Hey, is the pre-show supposed to be on Facebook too or no? Because I can't see it.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it either. This might be a treat for those other people on the other platforms.
It might be a treat.
I don't know. I mean, I enjoyed the movie.
Wait. Mao Yin says she can hear us talking, so.
Who?
Yeah,
Mao Yin.
Oh, so she's over there creeping in the shadows like Sean Spicer. All right.
But I don't even see the thing.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Anyway,
I don't know. I mean, the movie itself is okay. It's just, here's my issue. I'm not a real huge fan of comedy, so I mean, comedy is fine. I don't have a problem with that. I understand that that's what Deadpool is all about. But the thing that I liked were the little comic book nods that most people might not have picked up on, or even nods back to the first movie. So I like some of that stuff. But as far as the comedy, it's like, okay, well, yeah, it's funny. But I don't know. It's just kind of like the fourth wall breaks weren't as much as like they had in the first one, where like he actually literally physically moved the camera and some other stuff that he did. It was kind of like, to me, they left some of that type of stuff out. And
another thing too, I didn't mean to cut you off. Also, you notice he didn't have many face expressions like he did in the first one.
No,
right.
It
was,
yeah, I noticed that was a little absent.
Yeah, maybe they didn't. The budget, I guess. I don't know.
Oh no, the budget was probably tripled. But I mean, it's just a fact of different director, different focus. Because my man Tim Miller, the dude, the guy that played Weasel, was the director of the first one, if I remember right. So, it's like it's a different feel of it, because that guy comes from a visual effects background more so than just being, a standard director. So he's going to pay more attention to stuff like that. Because some people are even saying Cable's arm looked more like a cosplay prop than some type of really advanced, cool thing that it could have been.
Right.
Like that.
Do I still sound muffled?
Oh, you sound good now.
Okay.
I don't know. The prosthetics they used on Cable didn't look as great as I thought it would. In some parts of it did, but I think like when they actually like show it like in its entirety, I don't know, it just left me feeling a little lacking with that.
Yeah. It looks like it's almost that time, getting closing down, winding down.
Hey, big guy. Oh, dog. Speaking of Juggernaut, he tried to use the Hulk lullaby on that man.
Yeah,
that was hilarious, dude.
Yeah. I mean, again, like I said, there was some good moments, but for me, it's like, comedy only goes so far with me. Yeah, because I like more dark humor than I like, oh my god, that was so funny. It's like, no, I like stuff that's sadistically funny.
Understandable.
I
think like my only other like gripe I had, I wish they left like dude, what was his name, Dopender or whatever his name was. Wish they left him out.
Why? He was important in the first one. He was hilarious.
Right.
In the first one, I didn't find him hilarious here.
Because he was more murdery.
Yeah, I thought that was the best part of him just having this want to be a part of X-Force. What really fucked me up when they killed off X-Force, I was like, wait a minute.
Straight out of the comics.
Straight up. Anyway, here we go. Hey, Junkies, welcome to the show. Hope you enjoyed watching us in the pre-show there. Play some dope beats and rapped a little bit about Deadpool 2. We hope you all had a fantastic weekend. Watched the sequel. It was actually a Junkies week. Obviously, you heard the others on the show with me, so let me get to who's on the show. Well, GQ, what's up, man?
Not too much. Sitting here getting ready to talk about some Star Wars. You know, my one of my favorite franchises of all time.
Right.
So yeah, it'd be awesome.
So, Super Nerd, check in.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Damn.
What did I do this time?
Oh, man, you interrupting people in the audience, man. You're supposed to let them enjoy it for themselves, man. You ain't supposed to be talking all over them and stuff like that, laughing and carrying on. Let people have their own experience.
Listen, when I come to a movie and I laugh, you know that's my laugh. I'm recognizable.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
Hey, if you're not enjoying the movie with me, then why are you there?
Yo, all right.
I pretend like nobody's even there. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Follow Marvel. What's up, bro?
Doing real good. Just catching up on some dinner. Other than that, I'm good. Let's talk about.
Look, his cheeks all full, just chomping. and man, that's rude as hell, dude. That is so rude. So rude.
Hey. Ain't nothing rude about it doing on cyberspace.
Oh, okay. All right. LGZ, last but not least, how you doing, girl?
I am awesome. Hey, everyone. How are you guys doing? Ready to get started?
Awesome. I'm awesome. Ready for that fix?
I am. Just give me a minute.
Give her a minute, man. Ready. All right, I'll give her a minute.
Hold on. How can you say you're ready and then say give me a minute? Those two don't work. Those two don't go together.
That don't make no sense. It don't make no sense whatsoever.
Okay, sorry.
Right?
Somebody was knocking at my door. That's why I said, hold on a second. I'm pushing away. Now I'm ready.
Okay, now she's ready. All right, here we go with the fix, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, everyone. This is the fix. Okay, so this is cool. So Deadpool 2 just opened in theaters. So far domestically, they've done about 363 million, which is pretty cool. However, I think this is really even cooler. In Japan, they have this place called the Collabo Cafe, and they have actually opened a Deadpool 2 theme type restaurant in Japan. So it's going to be in Osaka, and it's going to be running from May 25th through the first week of June. And they've got like a bunch of special sugary treats. They put a couple photos up of like a milkshake and a latte based on the Deadpool 2, colors and schemes and stuff. So I was just like, I thought that was really cool. So I think that's cute. I'm hoping I can try to find some pictures of that when it opens up and see how the fans react to it and everything next week or in a couple days. All right, second thing, which I think this is a big deal. So Gotham, I know a lot of people there's been a lot of mixed reviews on this show because, they're saying, oh, why didn't they, they're trying to wonder what aspect or why haven't they talked about Bruce Wayne turning into Batman, and it's been talking about villains, Gordon, everything else. So now it just got renewed. I think we talked about that last week. So now what they're saying now is that they're going to start transitioning into turning Bruce Wayne into Batman. So season 5, which is coming up, I believe it's going to be in 2019, is going to be now heading towards showing Bruce Wayne turning into the Batman and doing his thing. And what the producers said is that they're going to go straight to the source materials and try to start pulling in the stories from him transitioning into the Batman and start going. So hopefully the fans will get more into the show and get more energized about the show. Everybody keeps telling me they got just past season 1 and then it kind of went to crap. So hopefully this will help them kind of get back into the, fans' good graces. All right, so comics coming out this week: the Invincible Iron Man number 600, and this is Flash number 47, and then the Lumberjanes number 50. As far as games this week, we've got Detroit Becoming Human on the PS4. We've got Dark Souls remastered for the PS4 and the Xbox. And then, of course, this weekend, Solo, a Star Wars movie, comes out along with Future World. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the fix.
If I could just tell you if I could show you my face, you was reading that whole thing about Bruce Wayne turning into the Batman. I mean, man, come on. Can someone put a bullet in that show already? Really? Please, man. I mean, dog, I am so over Gotham, dude. I'm so over Gotham.
I'm telling you, people are going to be watching it. People want to see that transition. That's like the number one complaint I hear is that they haven't showed that. So now they're about to show it. So everybody can rejoice and be happy now.
There's nothing they can do to try to put that back on course after all they've done.
I don't know, but Elle better stop them feds from knocking at her door.
Oh man, that show is just straight. Oh man, I can't wait for it. Thank God. Hating. Anyway, guys, let's go ahead and get in main topic. We got a lot of stuff to get to today. Concerning Star Wars, obviously, as Elle brought to you in the fix, everybody knows Solo Star Wars story is coming Friday. Meeting kind of a very tepid reception in the fandom, so that kind of like brought us to what we're going to talk about today. And it's kind of concerning Star Wars under the stewardship of great House of Mouse. I know my panelists that are joining me today are going to have a lot to talk about, but I put a poll out there, this Pulse of the Nation. I put a poll out there last week asking, what did you think? Is Disney ruining Star Wars? And you guys all chimed in with the 250 votes. 68% said it's fine, but 32% said yes, they are. Out of 250 votes. So that actually leads right into the topic. Is is Disney really ruining Star Wars? Let me ask you. Is Disney ruining Star Wars?
Who are you asking?
You, GQ.
Oh, you better get that microphone fixed then.
Okay, sorry.
Anyway, is Disney ruining Star Wars? No. Only thing they're doing is expanding the Star Wars brand. We've never had this much Star Wars in our lifetimes because obviously I was alive when the first movie came out. And within that period of time, if Lucas had his way, we would have only had 6 Star Wars movies and been done with it. Now, within the span of basically 5 years, we've had 4 movies. So I have no problem with more Star Wars. Star Wars is a huge franchise, lots of lore, lots of things that can be told. Granted, Disney eradicated the extended universe, which I have absolutely no problem with. They don't own it, so why bother dealing with all the legal rigmarole of all those other stories and all those other creators? Wipe the slate clean, tell your own stories. You own those completely. So I have no problem with it. I want to see a Sith movie sometime soon, but that's beside the point. But Star Wars is doing just fine under Disney. Because people might not like it because it's not their Star Wars, but so what? Get over it.
I mean, to be honest, was it ever really theirs in the first place? That's an honest criticism. I mean, my thing is that I really don't see. I mean, look, folks are up in arms because they don't like what Rian Johnson did with The Last Jedi, and I think that there are some fair criticisms to be made for people that kind of think that he ruined the whole franchise. That's just, I mean, no, not one person can ruin an entire franchise with that much history, regardless of what direction one movie may take. That does not ruin everything else that has already been done up to this point. I mean, you can even, I mean, it's surprising that people are making this argument now, considering that as much as the prequels get criticism, for a various amount of things. I mean, you would think people would look at how they portrayed the Jedi in the prequels. That was like the first time we ever seen the Jedi not necessarily be these malevolent group of knights that just want everything to be all nice and good. It's like, I mean, say what you want about the prequels, but they at least introduced that gray area of how the Jedi operated and so on and so forth. And obviously that filtered over into Luke Skywalker, who himself, he's not perfect either. And a lot of people didn't like that. And, this, that, and the other. Now everybody wants to blame Disney for it. The way I see it, it's no different than what 20th Century Fox and Lucasfilm has been doing for the last 30 years before Disney even bought it. So I think it's still the same as it's always been. As far as folks with the mad about the expanded universe, I mean, hey, it's like, I don't know how many books there were and novels and all that. If anything, that kind of made everything a little bit more focused, because if you really want to try to add all of that, that's way too much stuff, to try to incorporate into this universe that only started with just 3 movies and then only tacked on 3 more like 20 years afterwards. It's like, come on, like, no. Nope.
Let's go ahead and jump in there.
So anybody else, you just jump on in, just like Double Dutch.
I mean, okay, let me ask this then. And I'm asking you out there in the Junkie Nation, and we want to see your comments as well. Is everybody kind of in general happy with the direction Star Wars? Because as we already noted, Solo, the Star Wars story, is not exactly burning up the pre-sale charts. In fact, it's projected to be the lowest opening for Star Wars movie ever, and this is on a Memorial Day weekend. This is like when it's supposed to be making bank, and they're saying that they're racing for. So is everybody in general happy with the direction Star Wars is going in regards to Rogue One, the spinoffs, the Last Jedi was very mired in controversy. Even the Force Awakens itself was mired in controversy. So really, what do we think? Are you guys happy with the overall direction of Star Wars? LGC, let's go. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Super Nerd. Go ahead.
I would say, I mean, I don't have a big problem with it. I mean, because remember, after that, besides the expanded stuff, that's where people most got the information from. But now that's going on. What else? I mean, I know Marvel got comic books now, but visually, you want to see Star Wars because that's what we grew up on. So to see them expanding the universe, because remember, after the Revenge of the Sith, that was supposed to have been it, and that was nothing after that. So I think they're in a good space right now. Maybe people are probably getting tired of Star Wars right now. The people who are not hardcore fans are probably getting tired of Star Wars because it's constantly coming out every year or whatever. So that could be a burnout.
Yeah, that's a very good comment.
Yeah. Other than that, I think they're doing great. I have no problem with it. I want to see more. If anything, they could do like they did with Rogue One and just do a whole different Star Wars and introduce a whole different side story again without the core members of the original Star Wars fan base. So just introduce somebody totally new, like they did Rogue One, but just put it, around the same time, but just not in that same universe, or you know what I mean.
Yeah, no,
something different. Yeah,
no, I totally get you. LGZ, what's your comment?
Well, I liked the first 3 movies, and I mean I liked them a lot. And
I'm
then
sorry,
they came.
Can you clarify which first 3 movies are you talking about? The prequels or 4, 5, and 6?
I'm talking about Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi.
Okay, all right.
Those 3. Those were the original 3. I love those 3. When they started going into the prequels, episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, Clone Wars, I did not like any of those movies. Didn't like any of them.
What reason? What reason?
To me, it just seemed like I guess it was just too much going on, too many. It seemed like it was just too much. I guess maybe too much information in the movie and at the time. It seemed like for me, it just totally like derivative of and I know it's supposed to be telling the story of how we got to the original, but for me, it was just I think it was just too much. Like, I mean, they could have. To me, I think maybe if they'd have had maybe 2 movies versus 4, that might have been better. But for me, it was too much. It was too much, and just I didn't like it. That's just my opinion. I didn't like those 4 movies. Star Wars: The Force Awakens. That was refreshing only because it was a little bit different. With Rey and what's John Boyega's character? I forgot his name. Finn. So yeah, Rey, Finn. I mean, that was kind of different. I was like, okay, and then you got Kylo Ren, and he's young too. So I was like, okay, so maybe this is like next generation, this, type of thing. And I kind of like that. I like that better than I like the prequels. The Last Jedi, it was okay, but it was kind of weird too, because there was a lot of stuff going on in that movie as well that I didn't understand. But I mean, not that I didn't understand the story, but it was just like a lot of weird stuff going on, like, the whole not telling Poe the plan, just like weird stuff. Like, it was just, I don't know, it was just weird stuff going on in that movie. But I mean, I like like both of those movies better than I like the prequel story. So it's just, I'm trying to see what direction they're gonna go in. I don't know, maybe I think over all of these years, maybe it's just, I agree, maybe it's just too much, and it's like, maybe it's just burnout because it's like not any story to tell. I didn't necessarily like, I mean, Rogue One was all right, but I was trying to figure out how it fits in, and it doesn't. But I mean, it does, but it doesn't. But I didn't like any of that kind of stuff. But this, I'm interested to see what they're gonna do, but I'm still kind of confused as to which direction they're gonna go. So I don't know if I'm gonna like it or not. I think it's just a lot going on, and maybe they're extending it out a little bit too long.
Okay, so what I'm hearing, at least from you, is that part of the problem is that they had a little bit too much going on. Is there a little bit too much, like is the whole, like Super Nerd brought up, for you, is having it every single year wearing on you? Could it possibly be wearing on the fans?
I don't know if that's wearing on the fans, because I mean, as we think about it, the only time, I mean, they haven't done it every single year. So I mean, the Star Force, the Force Awakens came out of 2015, and Last Jedi came out in 2017, and I don't think the next one is scheduled to come out till 2019 or something. So I mean, every couple of years is okay, I guess. But I mean, again, what is the direction of what is the story, the direction of the story? Like, I mean, that's what I think that's what, maybe it's just getting crazy, because it's like, okay, where do we go from here? Like, okay, you've told the story, you've got the prequels, now we're going into like next generation type stuff, and it's like, okay, we still having the same issues from back in the 80s. Like, I mean, like, is it repeating the thing over again, telling the story just a tad bit different? Like, I mean, what direction is this franchise going in? I mean, it doesn't matter if they have movies coming out every 2 years if they're good, but if they're like convoluted with a bunch of craziness, and nobody, it's hard to follow the story, and it's just kind of like great visuals and great fight scenes. I mean, is it worth it, or should should we really get a quality script with an actual something that ties in and is like really going on? I mean, it's just like, I mean, where do you go from here?
Okay, fair enough. So let me ask this. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna ask is, we've had 5 years of Disney Star Wars film, right? We've had Rogue One, we've had The Force Awakens, we've had now Solo, Star Wars story, and we've also had things like Star Wars Rebels underneath. So how will we say the movies under just George Lucas? And this may or may not be fair, and I granted this may not be fair, but how do the movies that are being made now compared, say, to from back in the day? What's missing in these new ones that's got fans all riled up? Like, GQ, can you do that at all?
I think what's missing essentially is a little sense of the original Star Wars stuff was all new. I mean, obviously, granted, it was a copy of some older stories that had been around for generations, but as far as filmmaking goes, a lot of that stuff was brand new. Lucas has always been a pioneer in that regard of special effects, visual effects, and that sort of thing. But I think the issue is, and it's really showed, he showed his biggest flaw when he did the prequel trilogy, is that he's not a great storyteller. I think the storytelling is just not his thing, and it's something that he should probably steer away from. Why do we have music in the background?
What?
All right. So he doesn't need to try to tell stories because he's not good at it. He's just good at visuals. But I think you really saw that fall apart in the prequel trilogy, and then obviously the huge reliance on green screen and digital effects and all that sort of thing. He lost a little bit of the magic that he had from the original trilogy. And then you move forward to now, where you have all the toys at everyone's disposal and better storytellers. But the problem is, it's like they're trying to get away from the narrative that Lucas created, but you can't because you're inside the same universe that he created. So I mean, I think that's kind of one of the disconnects that you get, is you can't get away from the original trilogy because of the fact you're dealing with characters that are affected by the original trilogy. So I don't know. I think that's one of the internal fight, is everybody wants to claim Star Wars to be a particular thing. And it's all of those things. It's not just one or the other. You can love the original trilogy to death. I do. But I understand that if you don't allow it to progress, grow, change, it's going to die. Because otherwise, again, if you look at Force Awakens, this definite J.J. Abrams' love letter to the original A New Hope. It's almost the exact same story. But it's just done with, a higher tech, amount of tech behind it. But it doesn't mean that it's not a good story or a good movie. It has its moments, and it has some parts that were bad. Same as the original trilogy. If you really, truly take the nostalgia glasses off, as Dido likes to say, and look at it, there's a lot of stuff wrong with the original trilogy, but it's still great stories, and it was a lot of fun. So I think that's what you're running into, is each generation wants to claim that their Star Wars is, so special and so great. And it's like, no, it's a continuing, evolving story. And that's what it's going to always be. And now that Disney has it, it's going to continue to evolve long after we're dead.
Okay, so Fallen Marvel, what's your what's your response to that? How do you think they compare the old to the
I mean, GQ pretty much hit like most if not all the points. I mean, it's just, again, it's that whole thing that, back in the day, all that stuff was new. And it's like now, even though Force Awakens came out, it felt new. It felt like it was going to be new. But then people see it, and then it's like, oh yeah, this looks great. Some of these characters are cool, but I've seen this story before. Now, granted, there are some tweaks to the story, and essentially, I mean, because I know we've discussed this before, but I really felt like with what Abrams did, yeah, there definitely was a love letter to the original Star Wars, but I think he also put elements from the other two movies in there as well, kind of rounding that out. That way, when the other ones came, like, they could be like newer stories or, what have you. So, but I'm thinking what it is that, I mean, you could really say like a lot of movies are missing something, but at the same time, I just think, honestly, I really think what it boils down to is people are just entitled when it comes to this fandom at this point. Like, people want what they particularly want out of the series, and when they don't get it, they get upset. Granted, a lot of folks have valid criticism, and hey, as long as you have a valid reason to back up what your stance is, hey, bring it to the table. I look forward to hearing it. But again, like, you have some of these fans like that are just overzealous, and it's supposed to be like, oh, this ruining my Star Wars, ruining this, that, and that. It's like, look, if you don't like it, okay, but how does this one thing ruin a whole 30+ year legacy? It doesn't. Okay, it doesn't. It's one of those things where it's going to be polarizing no matter what. no one is ever going to be satisfied because you know, you have social media, you have people that have their platforms. They feel entitled to their opinion, even though sometimes folks' opinions are about as valid as a lump of coal on Christmas morning.
Oh wow!
And it's just, I just honestly really think that right now, as far as what people are expecting out of it, I really feel like a lot of it boils down to honestly fandom entitlement at this point. Like, that's what I really believe.
You know, you touched on something really important there, and I think that does speak to a lot of it. And Super Nerd, maybe you can take it, you know, from here and speak in regards to how entitled a lot of people have been. Because I think a lot of the problems a lot of people had, and GQ alluded to this earlier, that, you know, remember how back in the day when we were kids, we had 4, 5, and 6 episodes, 4, 5, and 6. That's all we had. In order to basically keep feeding our love for Star Wars, we had to read the novels. We had to read this expanded universe and all this stuff, and get used to like Mara Jade, and get used to Jason and Jaina Solo, and, you know, seeing the continuing adventures, and, you know, kind of like spend all this money on these books and hours and hours and hours of reading, and then Disney comes along, it's wiped away, like completely wiped away. So that, you know, that leaves fans feeling betrayed. And then they've got this new stuff, and it's nothing like what they thought it was going to be. So I think, could you speak to maybe, is there a little bit of fan entitlement here that is fueling some of this Star Wars hate?
Of course it is. I mean, that goes for superhero movies. You know, we as hardcore comic book fans always get this sense of entitlement because this is not how it's supposed to be. This is how it should be. Why did they do this? Why they doing that? So it definitely, entitlement definitely plays, and it's always played in fandom in general, because, like you said, when people say when Last Jedi came out, this is not my Star Wars. I'm like,
right,
relax. This is just another iteration of the series. Of course, some movies may not be great, some may be good. I mean, that's just, you know, how movies are made. I mean, everything can't be the best unless you're not doing your job properly. But other than that, entitlement definitely plays into it. Some people just gotta relax. I still haven't seen Last Jedi. And I'm not like the elitist when it comes to Star Wars. I enjoyed every Star Wars that came out, minus Phantom Menace. But but regardless, entitlement definitely plays into it, because even Infinity War, when people were talking about that, it's like, this movie was great. What? Oh, it's not like the books. Okay, of course it's not gonna be like the books. You do realize in the Marvel Universe there's multiverses and shit. So the MCU was just, you know, their 616 basically.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to Star Wars, it's like you're telling a whole new story, because what you known from the books aren't there anymore. So you're going off something different, and also it's for the new generation now, the younger kids. This is their new hope, as we probably said that previously. So let the kids enjoy their movie, you know. That's all I got to say about that.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that, because, like, it always kind of trips me out whenever I see somebody that, like, in addition to Star Wars, they'll say the same thing about Civil War, that it's not like the books, and I just laugh when people say that, because it's like, okay, you got to think about this. You realize how many people were involved in the Civil War comic book arc? Like, if they actually had the capital to make that exactly how it was into like a whole thing, that alone is like a 12-movie saga because of how much was going on in it. Like, the thing is, it's like people keep bringing it up. It's like, look, this Civil War was never meant to be exactly like the comic book. It was telling its own story based on the narrative they were playing out. Hey, I don't know if we'll ever get to a point where we'll have a superhero movie that involves like almost 200 plus characters. Like, come on now. Like, you get, like, it's like in the realm of filmmaking, you have to be realistic of what is possible and what isn't as far as adapting. And it's like, folks don't get that. Like, they're just so much into their feelings about said fandom, it's like at some point, it's like they kind of lose realistic way of thinking, which is hilarious to me sometimes.
I mean, a fan is short for fanatic, so that definitely applies in multiple facets of fandom.
And that's why I like to go by enthusiast.
I like that. LGZ, any comments on this?
I mean, I'm just gonna. I mean, again, I agree with GQ on this, right? Like, if the storytelling is bad, I mean, again, if it's stagnant and it's not progressing, I mean, it's just, if it's bad, it's bad. I mean, and just, I mean, to say, oh, because we don't have the old, materials anymore and we're doing new stories, if the stories suck, I mean, just because again, the fight scenes and the graphics or whatever doesn't make a good movie. I mean, the story has to pop too. I mean, they need to either get someone else in. I mean, because if it's not good, it's not good. And that's not anything about being a fan or entitled. I mean, it's just, if you're a person that likes good storytelling and you see the first three and you're like, okay, this was good, and that you're expecting that same caliber or an expansion of that caliber, to just take a mediocre story and be like, oh, that was great. That's not good to the franchise either.
So let me open this to all of you guys, and you tell me. So did anybody? I mean, GQ already said he liked Force Awakens and was a love letter to episode. I felt it. And a lot of people knocked that because they were saying, oh, it wasn't original, or it wasn't original enough. And Luke wasn't this badass with a whole bunch of Jedi rookies and all this other kind of stuff. Did anybody really have a problem with the narrative that is being told so far in the continuing saga with episode 7? And anybody have a problem with right now on the panel?
I didn't. I thought it was an interesting story of seeing an old, seasoned, probably emotionally tired and somewhat unsure Luke Skywalker. I mean, the thing is, people expected Luke to be this benevolent hero that has all the answers.
Right.
Well, guess what? Reality sets in. No one, not even a Jedi, has all the answers.
And I think that also bothered a lot of people too. That Luke wasn't the superhero, that he didn't have all the answers, that he didn't just hop right in and just fix the galaxy, bring balance to the Force and stuff like that. And they instilled a little bit of realism, like PTSD, with Luke, and I don't know, that it seemed to rub people the wrong way, and I just don't. But let's move on to the next subject topic on it. Our fans' expectations, basically just too high. I mean, really, when you think about it, all these people have these lofty expectations of damn near everything, really. But especially when it comes to Star Wars, like, they got to see, Luke being great. Han shouldn't have been killed. Rey shouldn't be as powerful as she is. And, I just don't get it. So, let's start with you. Do you think fans' expectations are just, in general, just too high to meet, and Disney will never meet them?
At this point, I really believe it is. Like, the thing is, I think the more something goes on, the more people are more interactive with, these type of properties and things like that. I honestly really do think it. I really do think they are. Like, the thing is this. A lot of the times, and I can probably use the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies at this point, because I'm not gonna lie, I usually have expectations, for movies as well. But the thing is, with those movies, those movies have essentially excelled my expectations almost every time. So I have that confidence in what they build, the story they want to tell, and all of that. And when it comes to, and the thing is, I'm not as big a Star Wars enthusiast as much as other folks. So it's like, I'm trying to put myself in their shoes based on what I am a huge fan of and whatnot. So looking at it through that lens, it's kind of like, you know, the thing is, like, anytime you make something that's a consumer product, hey, it's like for every, you know, probably like for every 5 people that love it, you're gonna have at least 2 people that say something is wrong with it.
I think I know what the issue is. Do you? Well, I say it should be a question raised. Do you think that Disney is focusing more on the MCU than they are on Star Wars?
Nah.
They're a big enough company. They got multiple divisions doing multiple different things.
But the reason I say that because I mean, we already talked. Like, I guess I'm saying they putting more, you know, they putting it because they know they're breadwinner. This is gonna make them hit that billion mark because they know people want these MCU films, and it seems like Star Wars is getting on the backside because, you know, we already got Infinity War, so everybody's hyped up for the next Avengers movie and then the next Marvel movie. So I don't think nobody's paying attention like that to the Star Wars franchise, in my opinion.
Hold on, have you seen how much the last 2 Star Wars movies made?
I don't know. You tell me how much they make.
Wow,
Last
really?
Jedi, as much as people hated it, still made $2 billion.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. I thought. See, that's what I'm saying.
Star Wars is a franchise that is bulletproof. It doesn't matter what. Here's the thing that I always laugh about with fandom is they complain, high expectations, this and that. Oh, they didn't do this. Oh, I'm done. Yeah, bullshit. You are never done. The next time a Star Wars movie comes out, your ass is sitting right there in the theater watching it along with everybody else.
Right.
So all these people, they talk a good game, but it's like these movies make bank for a reason. And it's like the same thing with the Marvel movie. Oh, MCU is all the same. And yet each movie climbs in the box office continuously. Just all of them keep getting more and more money. So it's like, you know, people can talk all they want. Star Wars, Force Awakens made like $2 billion. Last Jedi, I got to double check it, but Last Jedi it wasn't hurting at the box office. It might have been quote unquote lower than what they expected, but to me, any movie that makes over $1 billion is doing pretty damn good. And again, it's the most powerful license in the world. You can make Star Wars toys forever. You can make Star Wars video games forever. So I'm sorry. It's like people can have whatever opinions they want about it. Star Wars ain't going nowhere, man. Sorry.
Absolutely. No, it's not. And you know, you kind of touched on a later topic, and we'll actually get to that in a minute. But if fan expectations, literally, is this just going to continue? I mean, because we live in this age of, you know, oversensitivity, for lack of a better word, where everybody thinks that their opinion is right and it's the only valid opinion. I mean, GQ on 8. But is this just gonna be like the norm for Star Wars in general, like moving forward? Because everybody's gonna have an opinion, everybody's gonna have something negative to say if it isn't exactly the way they want it to be. Like, so is Star Wars just pretty much just doomed that we're just gonna have to, nobody's ever gonna be happy, nobody's satisfied, right?
That's kind of the name of the consumerism, if you really think about it. I mean,
exactly. Please, some of the time, but never all of the time.
I guess
the only thing you can really hope for, though. The only thing you can really hope for, though, is that, like, okay, would at least appease most of the people. Like, that's the only thing you can hope, because it's unrealistically to try to make everybody happy, because it's impossible. It's not going to happen.
Right. Right. No, I know you're not, but I guess I'm looking at it too, like, okay, if the MCU basically can come through and for the most part everybody's pretty much happy, they have nothing negative to say, I guess why is it that Star Wars is not afforded that same courtesy? Because if you think about it, like, Star Wars has been at it a lot longer than the MCU, and it had a lot higher success. So why is it that fans just feel so, I don't know, just entitled to? What are they saying in the chat, by the way?
From what I see in the chat, a lot of folks are kind of agreeing as far as fandom perception and how a lot of it is just they don't understand the hate of it all. Like they don't they don't understand. And I mean, the only thing that I could really attribute it to more than likely is because as far as the films go, I would say Star Wars just has a longer history than MCU. Like MCU is still much newer compared to Star Wars. So you kind of have like, what is it, like about 4 decades worth of experience, opinions, thoughts, feelings. And over time, like a lot of that stuff can shift. I mean, even when you look at, I mean, again, everybody keeps talking about how terrible The Last Jedi was and all that, whatever. The same things have been said about Empire Strikes Back, and look how people feel about that now. They still consider it the greatest Star Wars film of all time. And again, it's like that history, when you have something a long history as long as that one, like people are gonna have like all kinds of feelings and thoughts about it. I mean, who's to say what people are gonna think about the MCU probably about 10, 15 years from now?
I think they'll still have plenty of positive things.
I mean, roughly, but I mean, who knows? I mean, who knows what they'll have it to compare to at this point? Like, granted, I don't have any reason to think that the feeling toward MCU will change, but just on the offhand that it comes a time where they're no longer making any more MCU movies. Just it's highly doubtful, but just if that were to happen, and they go on like a 20+ year hiatus before they finally make another. It's always going to be that thing,
Okay. All right. Well, I think that brings me to the. Okay. So, what movies do we want to come next? Then, I mean, that's basically the same next topic that we have. That's only where we have to go from here. Like we've had a Rogue One, we've had 2 continuing saga movies. Now we're getting Solo, a Star Wars story, and a man that's signed to play Solo is signed for multiple films, so it's not like this is the end. So what's next for Star Wars? What do we want to see come next from this franchise? What would you like to see? I mean, kind of stated it, but anything else besides a Sith movie you'd like to see?
A good Boba Fett movie. They're doing Solo. Let's do Boba Fett next.
I've heard people maybe say maybe a Lando movie. Donald Glover.
I mean, maybe, but I mean, dude, like
fuck Lando Calrissian.
Exactly.
Tom, Nick.
What's with the hate for Lando, fam?
But here's
that chasing Amy.
Exactly, but here's the other thing. Here's the other thing with that. It's like you're probably going to get enough Lando in this movie, so why does he need yet another whole movie?
Because he's got more dollars.
Because he's going to be. I'm sure he's going to feature heavily in this film. So why do we need an entire movie about him? I'd rather get. It's like they follow the heroes, and that's fine, but it's more fun to me if you follow a quote unquote villain character, or especially a bounty hunter. A bounty hunter would definitely be a fun character to deal with for an entire movie versus a person who is going to become a heroic character.
Here's my problem with that, right? And I'm not discounting that wouldn't be interesting, but the problem with that, much like they did with Thanos, much like they do with damn near every single villain in a movie nowadays, is they try and humanize them. They never let them be evil just to be just straight evil. Not to operate in a gray space or anything like that. Just straight up just evil. Like they always try and humanize the villain. And that's why I don't think that's gonna ever happen, because they always got to make him popular. I can't hate the guy. I mean, that's just my take on it. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I honestly really feel that in a way, I think Christopher Nolan kind of spoiled moviegoers as far as the logical type villain. it's not to say the Joker was sympathetic, but he was just like on that cusp of like, damn, you kind of get why he does what he does, even though what he's doing is essentially insane at the core. But it's because we've gone into the era of the sympathetic villain, or a villain whose motives can be understood. It's not like how we usually used to get like the one-note villains up until, for however long that we used to have them, because stories have evolved past, the simple good versus evil. So you kind of have like either the conflicted hero that, feels that he must have, crossed the line to do what he has to do, versus the villain who was like, does villainous shit, but like at the deep down, he's not really all that bad a person. And, and then of course you have like the bridge in the middle, which is essentially your anti-hero. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that stories just evolved. And it's like at that point where you can't really have a villain with no purpose anymore. Like it'll be, if they do that, it'll feel more like a throwback to an older film at this point. It's like we are used to having villains with motives now that the audience can understand. It's like, I can't even count how many villainous characters like within like the last probably 10 to 15 years that people probably put on their favorite lists now.
What about
I think the main thing I want to...
Oh,
he dropped out again.
Yeah, he dropped out again. Just when he was getting ready to say something halfway interesting.
Foul.
I'm sure he was gonna say something. LGZ, I ain't heard from you in a while. What would you want to see in a Star Wars film?
To be honest, I wouldn't be mad at a Boba Fett film.
Boba?
Fett? Yeah, I think Boba. I think it's Boba Fett. I think she's trying to correct you.
I say it how I say it. I said what I said.
You says what you said. Says what you said. Okay, whatever.
So you said it wrong, but okay.
Right.
I think like I didn't get a chance to like really answer, but I think like for me, like I would actually be interested to see something like something based in like the Old Republic.
Yeah, Old Republic would be nice. Old
Republic would be pretty cool, actually.
Because a part of it is because like I'm kind of, it's like for me, like I love the Star Wars lore, but like I'm at the point where like I'm just tired of the Skywalker saga at this point. Like it's been too much focus on them when there's like a whole galaxy full of people that can essentially probably do the same shit, if not more, than the Skywalkers. But because we've been centered on them so much, it's like, could we see someone else? Like go back to the beginning.
Hold on. They just killed off the Skywalker bloodline, so I don't see a complaint.
I mean, now, but I mean, it took them like almost 40 years to do it.
Well,
and
they earned that.
They did.
They didn't totally kill it off because Ben is still a Skywalker. He's not full blooded, but he's still a Skywalker.
No, he's not. He's a Solo.
He's still a Skywalker.
I'm sorry, I don't know what planet you're from, but you don't take your mom. You don't take your mother's last name. You take your father's last name.
Still the same blood, man.
He's still a
grandson.
He's still a Solo.
Skywalker counts him up.
It doesn't matter what's in your book or not. He's a Solo. It's not, his name is not Ben Skywalker.
I need to break in here right now. I can't stand hearing this. I'm sorry, real quick. This is my voice. And he's a goddamn Skywalker because he wouldn't have any force powers whatsoever if he didn't have the Skywalker blood in him. So he might be Solo's son, but he's Skywalker's force powers. And he's Leia's son as well, and he would not have any. If he would have banged any other chick, Ben Solo wouldn't have been Ben Solo. He'd been whatever Solo with no Skywalker powers.
So you're saying the Force is a sexually transmitted disease?
Sure. This is what, right. I'm like, that's not exactly how it works. He could still be force sensitive, even if Han had never slept with Leia and that was his son. He still could have been force sensitive. Not how it works.
It is definitely possible, but it probably wouldn't have happened that way. And it happened the way that he has he has strong force abilities because of his grandfather, Anakin Skywalker. And
you realize the Jedi were celibate order, right? Like the Jedi did not marry and have.
And so, I mean, at this point, would it just be saying that like it's just coincidence that like the progeny thereafter were force sensitive?
All I'm saying is there's no hyphenated names in Star Wars, so he is
just saying, like it's a hell of a coincidence that like like you were force sensitive at random.
Wow.
When at this point you literally had like three generations of force sensitive people. Like, I mean, at some point it's got to be some hereditary. Like
I said, I understand 100% you guys saying he's got the Skywalker blood, this and that, blah, blah, blah. However, he's still, at the end of the day, his father's son. He is a Solo. Yes, he is very force sensitive and very has great force potential, probably because of his mother's side of the thing. But at the end of the day, on his driver's license, it says Solo.
His driver's license on his pilot's license, it says he's a Solo. On his pilot's license, it says he's a Solo. Okay, all right. Look at Lena. She over there in the chat. She said, "Not marrying doesn't mean they weren't getting it in." Well.
I mean,
Anakin did, so
Kiadi Mundi had a son or something other such like things. Jedis were not all virgins like Yoda. I'm sorry,
they weren't.
They knew better.
They knew better. They knew what was up.
Right.
Okay.
900-year-old virgin. That's why Yoda was so daggone powerful. Man, we had that it was just built up. It was like, dude, for real?
Okay.
True.
Wow.
Come on now. Come on now. Yoda is a cock blocker and B like the ultimate Jedi virgin for real. Oh, hold up. Anthony Minter said a Mace Windu movie. See, Mace was getting it in too. Mace is probably hooking up with like somebody's Padawan.
Didn't he have Ayla Secura was his supposedly, according to the books, they were kind of in a relationship. I don't know how that all shook out.
That man was smart. You pick a Twi'lek, you never go back.
True. That's true. That's what Kanan did. Yo, man, by the way, speaking of Rebels, right? So we trying to say that Hera was knocked up at the end of Rebels, like after Kanan died, like she all of a sudden popped out a kid, and he was like, by the time Return of the Jedi, he was like 8 years old. Timeline just wasn't seeming to match up for me, unless Kanan's Force Ghost was visiting her at night, which happened to Shmi Skywalker. So I guess it could have happened to Hera.
That's the other thing. The Force is a rapist.
It really though, right? Right? Them damn midichlorians, man. They get
it was much easier to think that like maybe just some people would just have an affinity to it.
Yeah.
It's like at this point you could just be infected by like the T virus.
Right. That's the thing, man. I don't know. I mean, again, like I said, Ben Solo, not Skywalker Solo. And again, who knows? Because look at Rey. If the story about Rey is true, why is she so freaking powerful?
See, that's the other thing too. I wanted to bring up too, and people, especially with fans that get really mad about Rey specifically. Like, Rey is so powerful. How does she know all this stuff and all that? Dude, were y'all that mad about Anakin? Anakin was damn near the same thing. He was a Mary Sue just like Rey was. Like when he was a kid, he had all this ability that seemed like it was just luck.
Luke? Anybody?
I mean, Luke
too. Luke in the first movie.
Luke too.
Like he learned about the Force like what 2-3 days prior before he helped destroy the Death Star.
Yeah.
Like
here's the thing. He had a little bit of training because we don't know how long it takes for them to travel to where they were traveling. So when he was messing around with the Seeker and all that. No, but here's the thing with Luke for me. You go from flying a T-16 or a T-16 Bullseye and Womp Rats in Beggar's Canyon.
Right.
Basically, so like you rode dirt bikes with your friends at the sand dunes. And you go from that to now you're competing in motocross at the highest possible levels. And you are like just taking out people that have been flying and doing stuff all their entire, that's like what their job is.
Right.
You're just taking
all they do.
You're just taking them like, yeah, whatever. You know, y'all ain't got no skills.
Right.
And on top of that, you blow up a space station on your first mission. First mission ever.
Right.
What you talking about right now? What you talking about right now is the thing that pissed me off to high heaven about Anakin in Phantom Menace. This dude couldn't even see over the damn dashboard. How are you?
R2 did all that. R2 was secretly running the entire ship. Anakin was
no man. I ain't buying that for a second. Anakin was moving the joysticks like, oh, that was close. Oh man, that was. Come on, man.
That was R2 saving his ass. R2 was like, look, man, I was rolling around minding my own business. You got me pulled up into this ship. I'm gonna fly us out of this shit because I'm trying to get back down and get an oil bath or something. Right. R2 was on his own agenda on that one. That's why that got taken back. That's why that happened.
It was so convenient that R2 happened to be there.
Yeah, because it was very convenient.
Hey, R2 is the only character that I actually got super mad respect for. My man's been in C-3PO don't really.
I mean, look, I'm not gonna. I don't count R2 has been the MVP for a while. I'm not gonna deny that.
Yep. Never had his memory wiped ever. Man just knows everything.
Yep.
Hold on.
He keeping them secrets too.
Hold on. Like Lex Luthor told I think he told who did he tell that? What is that robot's name from that Ivo created? Amazo. Yeah, like Luthor told Amazo, if you have all knowledge, that makes you a god. So R2 technically having all that information over all the movies, he's never had his memory wiped. He's kind of technically a god of some sort.
I think that's a reach.
I don't know, man.
I think that's.
I don't know. That's man. He knows everything.
He does know everything.
He's plugged into. He's plugged into Rebel and Imperial information.
Right.
And he's seen a lot of he saw a lot. So I don't know.
Anthony Mentor saying he's interested in a Jedi Sith origin movie. Taking the Last Jedi planet. So I guess he's saying the first Jedi text, the original Jedi text. I don't know. Tribal movies of that nature, especially in Star Wars, probably work.
Probably not as a movie.
Yeah, I don't. As a movie, I don't think so. As a TV show, maybe, but as a movie, I don't know about it.
Hold on now. Hold on. But we don't know what's in those.
True. Yeah, that's true.
It could honestly be like some Jedi's little black book, or it might be it might be just like a collection of some old Jedi masters porn stash because again they're not allowed to have relationships.
Shit, man, I mean, it made me lose my headphones, man. Wow.
The ancient Jedi text might not even be, and I'm sure Super Nerd just got back in. Super Nerd, back me up, and he dropped out again. Or is he there? I don't know.
I'm here.
If you can hear me, Anthony Mitchell said he wants a movie based on some of the stuff that may have popped up in ancient Jedi text. And I was trying to explain to the rest of the panel that the ancient Jedi text is either some old Jedi master's little black book or his porn collection. It's one of the two. Because since they can't have relationships and they can't really get with women like that, they got to have some release somewhere. So
endless meditation, man. Hey, you know what, man? I ain't gonna front. The Jedi are some creeps, though. If Anakin was on that creep shit like he was with Padme, I know good and damn well some other Jedi probably was.
Nah, dude. Yoda probably wrote them books, man. That was Yoda's freaking porn stash for real. That was his little box under the mattress. That was Yoda's, dude.
You never know,
why he
man.
Was quick to call down that lightning strike to try to keep them secrets.
He tried, but then he was he straight up was like, dude, but man, damn, Ray took them books. But Luke thinks he's doing something. No, let me just go ahead and just call down some lightning. I'm like, dude, Luke. Here's the worst part about that, and this is why I didn't like how that particular scene was directed. I ain't gonna lie, Last Jedi had a lot of issues and problems, but the direction was definitely one of them. But my man he ran up there like he was about to really do something and then turned around. It's like, if you really set on doing something, you don't have that stop, turn around thing. It's like, nah, dude, if you're gonna do it, do it.
Right. He was thinking. What was he thinking?
That was his way of life he was about.
I mean, the tree was ablaze. I mean, that ain't time to think. It's time to act.
Here's the crazy thing, though. Here's the crazy thing.
Crashed on me too. Like
it was burning, but then he had that like that backdraft explosion all of a sudden. I'm like, where did that come from? Because it was nothing in there supposedly except some books. So why all of a sudden the explosion?
Oh no.
Yep, Anthony Mitchell is actually 100% right. He had to clear that browser history. And Yoda was like, "Nope, you ain't getting to that. Since you ain't never read them."
Right, right. You've been too afraid to touch them all them years, right? So, all right. So, Star Wars solo Star Wars story comes out this. Obviously, we're gonna go see it on Friday. First view. Do you expect this movie to still be good based off the pre? Are you excited for this movie? Are you kind of like feeling like some of the fans like not really?
Now you can't shut it off.
Probably just people. I think there's people just kind of, sort of just taking what they see online right now and kind of using that as the basis of what people think about it. It's just like the same thing with like people just looking at Rotten Tomato scores when the movie come out and they make their judgment off that. Like, I really just think like, I mean, I'm going into watching a movie expecting to be entertained. I'm not trying to look for any type of like, because I don't know, like maybe it's just somewhere like folks are just trying to look for that one tie-in for, you know, A New Hope or something or whatever. And it's just like, I mean, we kind of already had that Rogue One. So, I mean, like I said, this is supposed to be like a backstory of Han Solo. I'm just interested to see what his story consists of. Like, I'm not worried about anything else. I'm gonna take the movie for what it is, based on what the story is about, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. Because the thing is, if you're relying on something like that, you putting too much stock into it, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna be disappointed when you come out of it.
Okay. LGZ, are you excited for this film? Like, are you interested in the backstory of Han Solo?
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm gonna go see it. I'm interested to see what the movie's gonna be about. Somebody wrote in the Nick wrote in the chat earlier. He wants to know if Donald Glover is gonna be like super black, you know, really really black in the movie, or you know, based off of the BP thing. And I'm just like, I don't know.
I don't know about that. I don't know if they're gonna allow.
Wait, what is super black though?
I mean, you know, like Lando was in the original, he was smooth. Yeah, he was OG. He was smooth, charismatic, that type.
That's not necessarily black though. That's just you're a smooth, charismatic person.
Guy.
Yeah, but you know how they try to rewrite stuff and make it different, you know.
Well, you know, they already had that report about, you know, Lando is gonna be supposedly pansexual, and okay, at some point. To me, that was a pandering move, and that didn't need to be said. You know, it could have just been shown. You know, instead of them always announcing everything. You know what I mean? Like when it's like what they did with Negasonic Teenage Warhead in Deadpool 2. A lot of people say that was done really well. Like because even
it was just her. Like
it was just her. Like the actress Brianna Hildebrand. She was like, you know, they came to me about it and said, you know, hey, we want to do this. And she was like, hey, that's cool and everything. Just don't make it a big deal. Just make it as natural as possible. Like, here's, matter of factly, this is what it is, and we move on. The announcement of Lando being pansexual and all that other kind of stuff, I mean, I don't think you really needed to go that far. You know, if you're just going to do it, just do it. Don't announce it beforehand. Just do it. You know what I mean? That's my take on it.
I don't necessarily like that, only because I think that, you know, I don't necessarily like the
And sexual move.
demasculation, yeah, of Lando. I don't like that.
Well, okay.
I don't.
I'm just playing
I mean,
devil's
it's a
advocate
fair
here.
thing.
I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be demasculated. You know, he could still be Lando, like, but you know, being pansexual, he's attracted to everything. So, you know, literally, he could still just be smooth macking on a dude and be smooth macking on a woman. Now, some other people, or an alien or something like that, basically. So, I mean, some people are gonna have their own, you know, opinions about that, but that's just the way I take it. I'm not gonna view him like less masculine, you know, if he's hitting on an alien or something like that. I mean, go ahead,
he's
GQ.
a ridiculously hypersexual Captain Kirk.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I've never
Do you
heard
think
Captain Kirk as somebody say he's pansexual though.
I understand that because the
I
term
get you.
probably didn't exist. The term probably didn't exist back when they made Star Trek. But
Wait, so Captain Kirk was
no.
No,
That's what I said. That's what I said.
various female
That's what I
elements.
said. Hypersexual, because Captain Kirk didn't care as long as he was a female. Didn't matter what
banging aliens.
what species you were.
Didn't matter.
So basically, he's like Tony Stark in the comic books.
Yeah.
'Cause Tony Stark was banging
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, but by saying pansexual, it means more than just women, and that's why I think it's emasculated.
No, I know. Again,
I hear you.
It goes back to it didn't need to be done at all.
Right.
It didn't need to be announced at all.
At all.
But realistically, they should have just let him be just like a Captain Kirk said, in the sense of he bangs all the women that he comes in contact with, or at least tries to, because he's Lando. They could have left it at that. But the pansexual, I don't know who that's supposed to be appeasing, because it's like, okay, well, why don't you just say he's bi?
It's supposed to be like all it is just them trying to just do this whole representation thing.
But the thing is,
which at the end of the day was forced, because like my whole thing is that, like, okay, Lando has basically been a thing since the early 80s. It's 2018 now. Why now all of a sudden, oh, Lando's pansexual now? Like, to me, that's in the same breath when they all of a sudden made Iceman gay after like 50 plus years.
Yeah.
And you know, and then like the whole big announcement, oh, Catwoman is bi. Whoop-de-damn do. Like, nobody didn't know that already. Like, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I understand characters need representation. I'm for that. But you don't have to just spring it on characters that's been around like since before I was born. Like that's like them. That's basically like them doing like a new Dick Tracy, and all of a sudden he's gay for some reason. Like, it's like at some point, like, come on, like, be a little bit more original if you're going to do representation. I mean, my thing is like, okay, best example I can give is probably the Arrowverse or whatever, with the Curtis and the Ray. The way they handled those characters, I think, was fair. I think it was fair because, well, with the exception, I mean, with the Ray, they kind of made that part of his character arc a little bit.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when it came to Curtis, it was just like, okay, he's gay, cool.
Right.
You know, same thing with the police chief in The Flash. He was gay. Nobody made a big deal about it.
Nope.
Like,
just went about his business. Like,
okay,
hey,
but here's
I'm
here's
getting married
the
to a
thing.
dude.
And
okay.
And Miao Yin said it. It's like, it needs to be said for people who care about it. You don't care, great. It was something curious about. And I can see that, but at the same time, it's like it's kind of like, okay, if that's going to be the case, let that be something that's done organically in the film.
Right.
You don't need to tell anybody, because it's like, okay, so now you've basically, it's like you've brought even more something else for people to complain about to the forefront.
Right.
It's like, to me, it's like, promote the movie, you go see the movie, then if you want to know more about the movie, then we'll talk about it after the fact. I don't need to reveal everything before the movie even comes out. To me, that's dumb. I've always hated when they do that.
I agree with that. I just think, to me, that whole thing starts to go pandering territory. where you're doing, where it seems like you're not. It's almost like a disingenuous type thing. If you follow, where you're basically saying it because people are inquiring about it. Like, you know, hey, just you could just left it and say, hey, just go watch the film. We're not going to reveal anything right here, right now. Just watch the film. Your own job after that, you know, or they might be doing it. I'm sorry. Hold on one second. They might be doing it to say that, well, we're going to say this now because if it's not absolutely extra overt in the film, then you're going to be mad about it. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
Yeah, but the thing about it is that now it's kind of like they're doing this now, and then there's going to be like, okay, well, was it the same way back in the original movies? Like, that's totally, like, that's not cool. That's not cool.
What?
Yeah, and again, it's like one of those things. Cool. If it wasn't, it's just one of those things where it runs into that issue where, okay, if it wasn't initially introduced in the creation of this character, why all of a sudden, like now, it becomes a thing out of it, and it just kind of it runs into that wall to where it's like, okay, why was this needed? And then on the flip side of that, of course, you know, folks that are gonna have some opposition to it, now some of them are gonna be looked at as bigots because they don't agree with it, and it's like, no, like. Because I mean, the thing is, it could be situations like I know that I've personally seen people who identify as LGBTQ or whatever. Some of them don't even like how like a lot of that stuff is being like sprung on people. Like some like I've seen some people that really have commented and like say, hey, you know, I want to be represented too, but like a lot of times, again, it's like one of those things where it just feels disingenuous, you know, and. The thing is, like, it always goes back to, like, I want everybody to be represented because folks have stories to tell, you know, but, again, it's like some stuff feels hand-fed, like it really does, like, well, not hand-fed, force-fed, excuse me, and when it feels like that, it just feels like pandering. It really feels like pandering to a fan base that deserves more respect than that. You know, and and like even when it kind of goes back to, you know, again, a character can identify with any one of those things, but again, like, you know, a lot of times in movies when they do that, like the characters either like for comedic purposes or they're like real effeminate and this, that, and the other, and it's like that doesn't represent everyone as a whole, though, you know, and. Again, I don't think they're going to change that part about him. But again, because it became this whole big announcement, it's just like one of those. It's like, what was the purpose? Like,
right?
Why?
Right. I guess that's really the thing. Like, what's the purpose of them doing that? I mean, we already know the purpose of them doing it because representation doesn't matter, and everybody needs and deserves to be represented. But you know, we'll have to let it. You know, we'll let our views on the movie speak for themselves after we go and see. You know, this weekend. Super Nerd, I ain't heard from you in a while. Any final comments before we get ready to get out of here?
If you can stay on.
Stay on. Is he back in yet? Back in? Or
I think he's in, but yeah, there you go.
I'm here. What's up?
Oh, I was just, you know, I haven't heard from you in a while. I wanted to get your take on things before I started to wrap it up.
Stupid laptop issues again. That was it. But
hey, man, ain't you making the big bucks, man? You making the big bucks, man. You might go ahead and invest in some better equipment.
Oh, this is a MacBook I have, and can't get no better than that. But just...
Like I said, invest in some better equipment.
I ain't trying to be my man's what's his name? I got a damn name. Got a podcast and shit. I ain't got all that technical shit. Like I let the technical stuff happen to you guys, and I just use y'all's.
Wow, this guy! What a freeloader!
I'm joking.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of freeloader, I mean, I know this. I know this isn't exactly. Speaking of freeloader, I know this isn't exactly for the culture, but I just kind of bring this up because it's kind of a funny story that I saw earlier. But y'all heard the story about the dude, the 30-year-old that's living in his parents' basement, and his parents basically had to go to the Supreme Court to evict him because this fool wouldn't get up off his ass, get a job, work, do chores around the house, would not leave, like refused to leave. They had to go to the Supreme Court. You know a cousin like that?
I don't like my cousin.
Bro,
I should have said that.
How does something like that make it to the Supreme Court?
Because I guess because in the lower appellate court, they weren't allowed to rule on evictions of this nature, so it had to go all the way up to New Jersey. Like, dude was sitting there in there.
It's funny.
I don't know if you've seen the story or not, but go ahead and try and find it and check it out because it's just
he was scraggly though, man. It's like, what's up with the long? It's like, dude, cut your hair, shave your beard, trim it up.
He was a layabout. He wasn't doing nothing. Like, he wouldn't get a job. He ain't had a job in years. He had a girlfriend and a baby, lost custody and lost her. Lost custody of the kid and lost her. And he was just sitting at his parents' crib just chilling. Like, I ain't doing jack. And y'all ain't getting me out this house.
You know he going through napkins and Vaseline.
Right.
Eating all the nachos.
He said that he wanted to be seen as a poor person. He said he wanted to be seen as a poor person so he didn't want to work because if he got a job, that he would have to pay child support and would not be a poor person and have to pay for
put a bullet in. Man, come on, dog. Just
and look.
Waste a complete waste of space. A complete waste of space. Jesus. I don't know, man. You know, fathers be good to your daughters, man. That's all I. Jeez. That's just something else.
That is something else. That's
I ain't never heard no.
Wow.
I would never in a million years think of doing it. But in any case, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get ready to get out of here. We had a lot of fun discussing Star Wars. We hope you're gonna go and join us next week, 9 p.m. time, 8 p.m. Central for next week's show. Next week is, you know what next week is, right? GQ. We kind of like an important day for guys like us. It's the 30th anniversary, and next week. Street Fighter 30th anniversary comes out. I know you're gonna get it, right? There's a collector's edition, ain't there?
You know who his main is.
Right.
No, it's not. It's just a regular edition. It's supposed to be one that comes.
So shocked.
Yeah, if you do like digital download or whatever, it comes with Street Fighter 4 or something like that. But it's like, I already have Street Fighter 4.
Right.
So yeah, as far as I know, there's no collector's edition or anything special. It's gonna be the game.
Man, that's too bad.
Bring back Alpha.
I don't really trust
Alpha's part of
on there.
Alpha's in the collection.
Yeah, it's basically every Street Fighter they've had, with the obvious exception of 5 and 4.
Yeah, 4 and 5.
Oh, okay. Ooh, let's get that third strike happening.
Yeah. Well, we've already had third strike on PS3, but I'll be looking forward to getting it on PS4. So there is that. I'm very much looking forward to getting that release. Cause man, dude, it's like been how many years has it been? GQ? It's been what, like 15 years since Third Strike came out.
Probably pretty close, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that boy is still one of the best fighting games ever made. I mean,
it is definitely one of the more technically sound Street Fighters.
Man, what can you say? Anyway, guys, we had a lot of fun talking Star Wars. Join us next week for that and a whole lot more. We're also going to give our grades for the fall TV show season, wrapping up. Make sure you join us for that. If check our Twitter, Culture Junkies _ Twitter, for any updates on the schedule, and like us on Facebook, and also join us over on our newly rechristened YouTube channel, streaming to live today. Tony, I have to ask Tony Young how the stream was over there and how he liked it. I would love to get it in the comments. Wait a minute, is EX Plus on there? He says let's not forget EX Plus. Oh, EX Plus is one of the best Street Fighter games. That's not part of the collection, is it? EX games?
First, it's not, but they really do need to make a collection EX series.
EX is not part of the
yeah,
official.
Capcom doesn't own it, so they can't do it.
Yeah, I know it's still technically like an Arcus game.
Yeah, but the thing is that follow-up that they're working on, whatever it was, is looks not all that special anymore.
No, it's not. But it still looks
interesting. I think
I still like to play
just more for nostalgia purposes because it still plays like old school EX. So I mean, I only play it for nostalgia purposes. That was my shit back in the day.
I like EX. I like EX, but I was not impressed by all that hype it got. Then they came out with that alpha. It was like, oh my god, y'all got a lot of stuff to fix.
Anyway, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. We hope you enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. Join us back here next Tuesday, 9 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Gotta get that right. Anyway, guys, I hope you had a great time for GQ for Fallen Marvel. The great Daddy Kuju popped in and out for a second, and Super Plus, I'm Kisha Girl.
Later, peeps. Take care.
Peace.